Alrighty, folks, we're now 5-0 in our last 5 Gold Club tier package plays on my premium page. We had the over in that Pistons game on Wednesday, and we got the job done by a bucket. We were looking pretty good, and then things slowed down there in the final minute, but got the job done, got the cash, and you know, the good news is I've got another Gold Club tier package play queued up here for you on Thursday. I'll be posting that early Thursday morning. Of course, as most of you know, that Gold Club package, it is a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And yeah, it was yet another winning day of premium selections on the site Wednesday. We cashed in on the Nets, Bucks, Kings, Pistons, over in that Knicks game, over in the Bulls game as well. There might be a few more missing. Definitely a great day for us. A lot of winning tickets. And, you know, that's going to put us at 3-0 in our last 3 daily best plays, 2-0 in our last couple of extra daily picks, 6-2 in our last 8 underdog tier package plays, 4-0 in our last 4 NBA tier package picks, 3-0 in our last 3 chairman plays, and once again, we're now 5-0 in our last 5 Gold Club tier package picks. Of course, what I just mentioned, those are all the different packages that I offer. Of course, they're all under the umbrella of the Gold Club package. That, once again, is an all-inclusive package. And I'll tell you, you know, we've got a big slate of games here for Thursday. So, listen, if you want to see which one of the games I like the best, you may want to think about becoming a Gold Club member. Listen, I don't guarantee anything. I've never guaranteed a win as long as I've been doing this. I don't do that. I'm just a guy who loves handicapping games. I like betting. It's a big hobby of mine, and I really like to dive deep into the games and give you as much free information as I can. But listen, man, I'm realistic. I tell you, you know, people get on these apps and they claim to be, you know, the best bettor in the world. And hey, that's a grandiose claim, man. There's a lot of people in the world. So if you're the best in the world, wow, that's really great on you. You know, there's a couple different guys that have some really clever models. You know, there's a martingale model where all they have to do is hit 1 out of 3 games on the day, and it gets graded as a win. So, you know, not going to be too many losing days following that. That's pretty genius, actually, especially if you're in the business of touting picks. You're really never going to have many losing days. But listen, we're hot right now. Got a lot of hot packages, and I'm just a regular guy like you. I like to break down the games, really dive into a lot of analytics. You know, sometimes you go with your gut, sometimes you go with the numbers, combination of both, and it's certainly paying off for us right now. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into some NBA action. We're going to start off with another repeat, Kings-Pelicans, 8 o'clock East. That matchup should sound familiar to you. Once again, Kings-Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Sacramento's -6, totals 238. Sacramento's in the top 10 in field goals made, top 3 in free throw percentage, doing a great job at the line. Meanwhile, the Pelicans on the other side, you know, really struggling this year on both ends of the court. But defensively, they're allowing nearly 120 points a game. Bottom 3 in field goals allowed, just not really getting a whole lot of stops. Their opponents are making nearly 50% of their field goals against them. Probably going to see a repeater in this one. I like Sacramento -6 over 238. Next matchup, Warriors-Rockets, 8 o'clock East. Golden State's -1, totals 221. Golden State's a bottom 5 field goal shooting team. I know that is really tough to believe, but they are not crisp shooting from the field, and they're even worse from the foul line. They're actually dead last in the league right now in shooting from the stripe. Of course, Houston on the other side continues to play some really tough defense. They're allowing only 108 points a game, 4th in the league in defensive field goal percentage. I like Houston +1 getting the job done against the number. And unfortunately for you folks, I cannot give you a freebie in that Thunder Timberwolves game. Cooking up a play on either the side or the total in that one. So should be able to find that one on the premium site, especially if you are a Gold Club member. No free pick available for you in that Thunder T-Wolves game. All right, next matchup, Heat Mavericks, 8:30 p.m. East. Miami is -2 away from home, totals 222. The Heat saw unders recently versus Boston, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia. They rarely send shooters to the foul line. They're also in the top 10 in defensive scoring. Meanwhile, Dallas on the other side, they do a nice job against the field goal themselves. They're in the top 10 in defensive field goal percentage. Of course, they saw unders recently against the likes of Houston and Detroit. I think we got a good recipe for an under in that one. I like the under 222. All right, next and final matchup here for Thursday. It's a shorter slate. Clippers Jazz, 9 o'clock East. The Clippers are -7, totals 225. LA's in the top 3 in points allowed defensively, top 3 in steals. Meanwhile, Utah, they're a bottom 10 field goal shooting team themselves. But oddly enough, the Jazz did see overs recently against the likes of the Lakers, Clippers, and Suns. Meanwhile, the Clips on the other side, they saw a handful of overs in their last 10 themselves. I like the Clippers -7 over 225. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some college basketball action. We're going to start off with an earlier game, not listed on our big screen, but it's going to be Monmouth taking on Stony Brook, 5 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Monmouth's -2.5, totals 143 and a hook. Monmouth winning record against the point spread this year. Stony Brook just 6-19 overall. Losers of 8 out of their last 10. Stony Brook's averaging only 66 points a game offensively, and not doing a great job shooting the basketball. Tough job getting to the cup. They're 334th in the nation in offensive field goal percentage. And of course, it's not just offensive problems for them either. On the other end of the court, they are in the bottom 15 in defensive field goal percentage. Now, Monmouth on the other side, winners of 3 out of their last 4, 6-3 against the point spread in their last 9. Covered against the likes of Hampton, Delaware, and Drexel. Abdi Bashir, he's averaging 21 points a game, 40% shooting from 3-land. And Madison Durr, 13 points a night for him. These guys saw unders recently against the likes of Towson, Campbell, and Northeastern. Meanwhile, Monmouth saw 5 out of their last 9 stay under the line themselves, throwing out that Towson game. I like Monmouth -2.5, under 143 and a hook. All right, next game, Cal Baptist taking on Texas Arlington, 5 o'clock East. Cal Baptist is -1.5, totals 144 and a hook. Now, Cal Baptist went 60% to the under in their last 10. Unders against the likes of Southern Utah, Tarleton State, and Seattle. Meanwhile, Texas Arlington, they went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. Unders against Seattle and Southern Utah as well. Some common opponents there. I like the under 144.5. Next contest, not on the big screen, but it's going to be Albany taking on UMass Lowell. 6 o'clock Eastern tip-off. UMass Lowell's -5.5, totals 152 and a hook. And Maslow, they saw 3 out of their last 5 get over the total. Overs against the likes of NJIT, New Hampshire, and Maine. Meanwhile, Albany saw overs recently versus UMBC and Maine as well. I like the over 152.5 in that game. All right, next contest. New Jersey Institute of Technology, NJIT, taking on Bryant, 6 o'clock East. Bryant is the hefty 17.5 point favorite, totals 147. Bryant's 15-10 on the year. NJIT just 5-20. Now, NJIT lost 8 out of their last 10. They're in the bottom 10 in the nation in points per game, shooting just 39% from the field. Meanwhile, Bryant on the other side, top 3 in the country in blocks, limiting opponents to just 41% shooting from the field. Of course, on the offensive end of the court, doing a great job there as well. They're averaging 83 points a game, 7th in the nation in offensive boards. Earl Timberlake, 199 rebounds on the year. Pretty safe to say he's going to get to 200 here on Thursday. 15 points a game as well for Timberlake. And Rafi Pinzone, 18 points per contest for him, 42% shooting from 3-land. 5 out of Bryant's last 8 got over the total. Meanwhile, NJIT, they saw their last 4 straight get over the number themselves. Overs against the likes of New Hampshire, Maine, and this very Bryant team. I like Bryant, minus 17.5, over 147. Next matchup, Binghamton taking on UMBC, 6 o'clock East. UMBC's minus 3.5, totals 151. Now, BC's 11-14 on the year, losing record against the point spread. Meanwhile, Binghamton on the other side, covered in their last 5 straight. Top 30 in the country in shooting the 3-ball. Timu Chenery, averaging over 14.5 points a game, 42% from 3-land. And Chris Walker, 45% shooting from beyond the arc himself, averaging nearly a dozen points a game. Now, UMBC, losers of their last 4 straight, currently on a skid, and they also failed to cover in 6 out of their last 8. The Retrievers are actually in the bottom 10 in the nation in field goals allowed per game. Really struggling on defense, giving up 78 points per contest. No real surprise here. 7 out of the Retrievers' last 10 ball games got over the total. Binghamton, they went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. Overs against the likes of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. I like Binghamton plus 3.5, over 151. All right, next contest. Longwood taking on High Point, 7 o'clock East. High Point's minus 9.5, totals 155. Now, High Point having a great year. They're 21-5 on the season. Meanwhile, Longwood on the other side, they've got a losing record against the point spread. Losers of their last 3 straight, 84 points a game they allowed during that stretch. Of course, defensively, Longwood is in the bottom 20 of the nation in blocks. They rank 342nd in defensive field goal percentage. And that's certainly bad news for them because High Point's averaging 82 points a game, shooting nearly 50% from the field. Damarian Williams, he's averaging 14.5 points a game, 40% from 3-land. And Keza Gifa, 14 points a game for him, second on the roster in points. High Point saw their last 3 straight get over the total, 7-3 the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Longwood saw 7 out of their last 10 get over the total themselves. Overs against Charleston Southern, Gardner-Webb, and High Point. Give me High Point minus 9.5, over 155. Next matchup, Appalachian State taking on Coastal Carolina, 7 o'clock East. Appy State's minus 7.5, totals 125. Now, Appy State's 15-9 on the year. Coastal just 8-17. The Shawns currently have a losing record against the number. Outright losers in their last 10 straight. Bottom 20 in the country in field goals made per game. The Chanticleers are averaging only 66 points per contest. And unfortunately for them, Appalachian State, well, they play pretty tough on defense, very challenging to get to the cup against them. The Mountaineers allow only 63 points a game, 38% from the field. They're limiting their opponents. They're actually in the top 15 in the country in both of those categories I just mentioned. And they're limiting opposing shooters to just 27% shooting from 3-land. That actually ranks 4th in the country. Now, 6'11 senior CJ Huntley, 181 rebounds on the year, 16 blocks. And Miles Tate, he's got 51 steals on the year himself. 7 out of Appy State's last 10 did stay under the number thanks to that tight defense. Meanwhile, Coastal saw unders recently versus Bowling Green, Marshall, and Old Dominion. I like Appalachian State minus 7.5, under 125. Next contest, Delaware, Towson, 7 o'clock East. Towson's minus 8, totals 144. Towson failed to cover recently against the likes of Stony Brook, Drexel, and Hofstra. They're averaging only 67 points a game for the year. They're currently 320th in points per contest, and they're shooting only 40% from the field. Now, Delaware on the other side, they covered recently against William & Mary, Elon, and Stony Brook. When it comes to offensive production, the Blue Hens are averaging 77 points a game, 12th in the country in free throw percentage, doing a great job from the stripe. John Camden, 17 points a game for him, 42% shooting from three-land. And Eric Timko, dozen points a game for him, 40% shooting from beyond the arc. 4 out of Delaware's last 5 did stay under the total. Towson saw unders recently versus Stony Brook, Drexel, and this very Delaware team. I like Delaware plus 8, keeping that one close, under 144. All right, next contest. Hofstra taking on William & Mary, 7 o'clock East. William & Mary's minus 1.5, totals 146 and a hook. William & Mary, 14 and 11 on the year. Looks like they have double-digit wins at home. I believe they're 10-1 at home, maybe 10-2, but playing some really good basketball in their own building. Hofstra on the other side, just 12 and 13 on the year, 4 and 6 on the road. The Pride lost their last 3 straight, failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10. Hofstra offensively is averaging only 67 points a game. They rank 314th in field goals made per contest. Meanwhile, William & Mary, completely different story for them, doing a great job on offense. They're averaging nearly 80 points a game themselves, doing a great job shooting that deep ball as well. The Tribe's averaging 10.5 three-pointers a night. Gabe Dorsey, team leader in scoring, 40% from three-land. Noel Collier, a dozen points a game for him, 41% shooting from downtown. Now, William & Mary did see unders in 7 out of their last 10. Hofstra saw unders recently versus Campbell, Drexel, and UNC Wilmington. I like William & Mary minus 1.5, under 146 and a hook. All right, next game. I believe I saw it on our big screen behind me, but it's going to be, maybe it's not. College of Charleston taking on UNC Wilmington. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip. Wilmington's minus 6.5, totals 151. Now, UNC Wilmington having a great year. They're 20-5 overall, 65% against the point spread. Winners of their last 8 straight, averaging 80 points a game. Wilmington's currently in the top 25 in the nation in offensive boards, top 25 in free throws made. 7-foot junior Harlan Obioha, 61% from the field, second second on the team in rebounds. And Donovan Newby, he's averaging nearly 16 points a game himself, 88% shooting from the stripe. Charleston on the other side failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7, having a tough time grabbing rebounds. They ranked 318th in defensive boards per game. And, of course, more defensive woes for Charleston. They rank 315th in the country in field goals allowed per game. Now, more bad news for them. Injury-wise, Daywell Tavares is questionable for Charleston. Obviously, you could argue he's the best player on the team. He may not suit up. Keep an eye on him. Now, Charleston did see overs recently versus Elon, Stony Brook, and UNC Wilmington. And UNC Wilmington on the other side, they saw overs in 6 out of their last 8. I like UNC Wilmington minus 6.5, over 151. Next game, James Madison, Georgia Southern, 7 o'clock East. JMU's minus 3.5, totals 146. Now, JMU saw unders in their last 3 straight, 6-2 to the under in their last 8. Georgia Southern on the other side, they saw unders recently versus Western Michigan, Southern Miss, and Marshall. I like the under 146. Next contest, Campbell, Northeastern, 7 o'clock East. Northeastern's -3, totals 141. Now, Northeastern lost 5 out of their last 8. They do have a losing record against the point spread this year. They're ranked 306th in guarding the 3-ball, having a tough time with those long-range shots. Now, Campbell on the other side doing a great job covering the point spread this year. They're 61% against the number, and they're winners of their last 7 straight. Nice little winning streak for them. Defensively, they allow only 65 points a game, and they're limiting opposing shooters to just 27% shooting from 3-land. That is second best in college basketball. Caleb Zerline, most blocks on the roster. Nolan Dorsey, most rebounds and steals. Campbell saw their last 4 straight stay under the total, 80% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Northeastern saw unders recently versus Elon, Drexel, and Stony Brook. I like Campbell +3, under 141. All right, next game, Drexel, Hampton, 7 o'clock East. Drexel's -1.5, totals 130 and a hook. Drexel saw overs in 3 out of their last 4. Overs against the likes of UNC Wilmington, William & Mary, and Monmouth. Meanwhile, Hampton went 7-2 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I like the over 130.5. All right, next contest, Jacksonville State taking on Sam Houston, 7:30 p.m. East. Jacksonville State's -1.5 away from home, totals 142. Now, Jayville State, 9-1 to the under in their last 10. Plenty of unders for these guys. Unders against the likes of Middle Tennessee, Liberty, and Florida International. Meanwhile, 5 out of Sam Houston's last 7 stayed under the total for them. Unders against Liberty, Louisiana Tech, and Western Kentucky. I like the under 142. All right, next contest, Texas State taking on UL Monroe. 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Texas State is -8 away from home. Totals 142.5. Now, Texas State, they're in the top 45 in offensive three-point percentage and free throw percentage as well. Meanwhile, UL Monroe just 6-19 overall for the year, 34% against the point spread. Monroe took the outright loss in 8 out of their last 10, and they ranked 313th in defensive boards. Now, listen, it's not just defensive problems for UL Monroe. They're actually averaging only 68 points a game on offense, and they're in the bottom 15 in the nation in offensive field goal percentage. Now, oddly enough, UL Monroe did see overs recently versus Georgia State, South Alabama, and Southern Miss. Meanwhile, Texas State went 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. Texas State is actually 65% to the over for the entire year. I like Texas State -8 over 142.5. Next game, Kennesaw State taking on Louisiana Tech, 7:30 p.m. East. La Tech's -6.5, totals 147. Now, Louisiana Tech having a good year, 17-7 straight up, 62% against the number. They also got the W more recently in 6 out of their last 9. And, they're allowing only 68 points a game overall for the year. The Bulldogs rebound quite well defensively, and they really don't get into a whole lot of foul trouble. Of course, 6'11" Daniel Bacho, 54 blocks on the year, second in boards, 18 points a game on offense. Of course, Caden Cooper, he's the team leader in rebounds. Kennesaw State on the other side, they failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4. Failures to cover against the likes of Middle Tennessee, Florida International, and Liberty. When it comes to offensive production, Kennesaw State, they rank just 295th in field goal percentage, and they're shooting only 29% from beyond the arc. Now, injury-wise for Kennesaw State, Andre Weir is questionable with that foot injury. Keep an eye on him. The Owls did see unders in their last 6 straight, 80% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Louisiana Tech saw unders recently versus Liberty, Sam Houston State, and Western Kentucky. Like Louisiana Tech -6.5, under 147. Next game, Nebraska Omaha taking on South Dakota State, 8 o'clock East. South Dakota State's -9.5, totals 152. Now, South Dakota State, they are 16-9 overall for the year, winning record against the point spread. Of course, more recently, they got the W in 6 out of their last 7. They're in the top 30 in the nation in defensive boards. Of course, a lot of that is thanks to the 6'10 Aussie Oscar Clough, second in the country in rebounds. He actually has 286 total boards on the year, 65% shooting from the field for him. Of course, he doesn't have to do much, just kind of puts the arm up and throws it into the bucket. Now, Owen Larson, most steals on the roster. Of course, Nebraska, Omaha on the other side. They're allowing 75 points a game defensively. They're 308th in defensive turnovers, not overly opportunistic. Omaha saw overs in 5 out of their last 6. South Dakota State overs recently versus St. Thomas, North Dakota, and this very Omaha team. I like South Dakota State -9.5, over 152. Next matchup, Denver, North Dakota, 8 o'clock East. North Dakota's -10, totals 152.5. North Dakota is just 9-17 straight up, losers of 6 out of their last 8. Defensively, North Dakota is allowing 80 points a game. They're in the bottom 15 in defensive field goal percentage. Now, Denver on the other side, they successfully covered in 5 out of their last 6. Covers against the likes of St. Thomas, Omaha, and Kansas City. Isaiah Edu-Ankra, 41% shooting from 3 land. DeAndre Craig, team leader in scoring. Denver's last 4 straight got over the total, 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, North Dakota, 8-2 to the over in their last 10 themselves. This is a lot of points to be catching. I think Denver can keep it within double digits. Give me Denver, +10, over 152.5. Next game, Marshall, South Alabama, 8 o'clock East. Marshall's -4, totals 139. Now, 6 out of Marshall's last 10 ball games did stay under the total. As a matter of fact, the Herd's currently 61% to the under for the entire season. Now, South Alabama, they went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Unders against the likes of the Raging Cajuns, UL Monroe, and Troy. South Alabama is actually 65% to the under for the entire season themselves. I like the under 139. Next matchup, Kansas City, South Dakota, 8 o'clock East. South Dakota's -2, totals 157. Now, South Dakota's 15-10 overall for the year, but they've been great at home. South Dakota's 11-1 straight up in their own building. They're 4th in the country in scoring, 2nd in free throws made per game. Chase Forte is averaging 16 points per contest. Isaac Bruins, 14 points a game for him. And unfortunately for the Roos of KC, well, they're allowing over 83 points a game defensively. They're in the bottom 5 in the country in points allowed, bottom 5 in field goals allowed. And no real shock here, 7 out of Kansas City's last 9 did get over the total. Overs against the likes of Denver, Omaha, and North Dakota. Meanwhile, KC saw, KC, I don't know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is both teams, a lot of overs. Give me South Dakota -2 over 157. All right, next matchup. Let me just try to find it in the notes here. All right, Seattle taking on Abilene Christian, 8 o'clock East. Seattle's -3, totals 136.5. Seattle 10-13 on the year, 2-8 straight up on the road, losing record against the point spread overall for the year. Abilene Christian on the other side, 2-game winning streak for them. They're in the top 3 in the country in steals. Braden Hubbard, most rebounds on the roster, and Rich Smith, most steals. Abilene Christian saw their last 4 straight get over the total. Seattle saw overs versus Tarleton and Grand Canyon. I like Abilene Christian +3 over 136.5. Next game, Grand Canyon taking on Tarleton, 8 o'clock East. Grand Canyon's -10.5 away from home, totals 137. GCU 17-6 on the year, Tarleton just 10-15. Now offensively, Tarleton State, they're averaging only 64 points a game. Dead last in offensive turnovers, really shooting themselves in the foot. Just a disaster on offense. They're actually in the bottom 10 in offensive boards, second to last in the country in three-pointers made. Of course, Grand Canyon on the other side, very good on defense themselves. Top 20 in defensive turnovers, top 20 in fewest 3 balls allowed. Tyon Grant Foster, 30 blocks on the year, 125 rebounds. And big 6'10" Duke Brennan, 176 rebounds for him. That is currently a team best. Now, offensively, Grand Canyon's averaging nearly 80 points a game, 6th in the country in free throws made. 5 out of Grand Canyon's last 9 did stay under the total. Meanwhile, Tarleton, they saw unders recently versus Abilene Christian and Cal Baptist. I like Grand Canyon -10.5, under 137. Next matchup, Tennessee Tech taking on Arkansas Little Rock, 8 o'clock East. Arkansas Little Rock -7, total 136. Little Rock 16-10 straight up, winning record against the point spread. Tennessee Tech 13-12 straight up themselves, losing record against the number. Offensively, Tech's just 309th in free throws made, having a tough time at the stripe. When it comes to defensive play, Tennessee Tech ranks 338th in field goals allowed per game, bottom 15 in defensive boards. Little Rock on the other side, winners of 7 out of their last 10. They're 15th in the country in blocks, limiting opposing shooters to just 37% from the field. That ranks 4th in the country in that category. Mawani Wilkinson, 39 blocks on the year, 191 boards. And John Lawson, 44 steals for him. Little Rock saw 7 out of their last 8 stay under the total. Tennessee Tech saw unders recently versus Eastern Illinois, SIU Edwardsville, and South Indiana. Give me Little Rock -7, under 136. Next game, Tennessee Martin, SIU Edwardsville, 8:30 p.m. East. SIU Edwardsville's -6, totals 139. SIU 17-8 on the year, 64% against the number. Tennessee Martin just 10-15 themselves, losing record against the point spread. Tennessee Martin lost 5 out of their last 6, and having a tough time shooting the basketball, having a tough time getting to the basket. They rank 332nd in offensive field goal percentage, and that's just a bad recipe for them because Edwardsville, they're holding opposing shooters to just 39% from the field. They're allowing only 65 points a game. Rayshawn Taylor, team leader in steals, actually averaging nearly 20 points a game on offense. Great season here for Rayshawn. And hey, here's a familiar face, Brian Taylor. 50% shooting from three-land. Taylor's certainly raising, some hell this year for Edwardsville. Give me SIU Ed, -6. Next game, Morehead State taking on Lindenwood, 8:30 p.m. East. Morehead's -2 away from home, totals 133. Now, Morehead State, they're covering in just 50% of their ball games this year. They do have a losing record on the road, just 5-7 straight up while traveling. Meanwhile, Lindenwood, pretty good at home themselves, 9-3 straight up on their own court, allowing only 68 points a game on defense. Moorhead, once again, losers of their last 3 straight. They're averaging only 67 points a game overall. Moorhead's 331st in field goals made, bottom 20 in 3 balls made as well. Of course, no real shock here. Moorhead went 60% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, LINWOOD, unders recently versus Tennessee Martin, SIU Edwardsville, and Little Rock. Give me LINWOOD +2, under 133. Next game, marquee matchup here on the kind of small school slate here Thursday, but some bigger schools here. Big Ten action, Maryland, Nebraska, 8:30 p.m. East. Nebraska's -1.5, totals 147 and a hook. Nebraska 16-8 on the year, 10-2 straight up at home. Maryland covering in only 50% of their games this season, and struggling away from home. Maryland just 2-5 straight up in their travels. Now, more recently, the Terrapins failed to cover in 5 out of their last 8. Failures to cover against the likes of Ohio State, Indiana, and this very Nebraska team. Now, the Cornhuskers are currently on a 4-game winning streak. 81 points a game they averaged during that stretch. And once again, the Huskers are 10-2 straight up in their own building. Bryce Williams averaging nearly 20 points a game. Connor Esigian, 40% shooting from 3-land. 7 out of the Huskers' last 10 got over the total. Maryland 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I like that home court advantage for the Huskers. Give me Nebraska -1.5, over 147 and a hook. Next game, Tennessee State, Eastern Illinois, 8:30 p.m. East. Tennessee State's -2 away from home, totals 143. Tennessee State does have a winning record against the point spread. I know this is a short number here, but Tennessee State doing a nice job against the point spread. Of course, Eastern Illinois on the other side, just 8-17 overall, losing record against the number for them. And I'll tell you, if you're into historical trends, Eastern Illinois, losers of their last 6 straight head-to-head meetings with Tennessee State. They actually ranked 310th this year in defensive boards. Now, on the other side of things, Tennessee State, they're allowing only 66 points per contest. I'm sorry, scratch that. Offensively, Eastern Illinois, they're averaging only 66 points per contest. And they're in the bottom 5 in the country in blocked shots. They're getting a lot of their shots on offense blocked. Now, Tennessee State on the other side, winners of 7 out of their last 9. Pretty tough on defense for the most part during that span. And, of course, when it comes to offensive production, Tennessee State's been really good with the ball in their hands. They're averaging 80 points a game, 4th in the nation in offensive rebounds. Aaron Nkrumah, team leader in boards. Ronald Jessamy, most blocks on the roster. Tennessee State saw unders recently versus Little Rock and Western Illinois. Of course, Eastern Illinois on the other side, they went 60% to the under in their last 10. I like Tennessee State -2, under 143. All right. Next matchup, South Indiana taking on Western Illinois, 8:30 p.m. East. Western Illinois is -1 as the home team, totals 136.5. Now, the Leathernecks are just 8-17 overall, and they might be the worst covering team in the nation. They're one of them. Western Illinois, they're covering in only 22% of their games this year. Of course, they lost their last 10 straight, failed to cover in all of those contests except for one. When it comes to offensive production, Western Illinois averages only 67 points a game, and they're in the bottom 5 in the country in assists. They do not move it around much. Now, Southern Indiana on the other side, they covered in 5 out of their last 8. Covers against the likes of Moorhead, Eastern Illinois, and SIU Edwardsville. 4 out of Southern Indiana's last 5 did stay under the total. Meanwhile, Western Illinois saw unders recently versus Southeast Missouri State, Little Rock, and Moorhead. I like South Indiana +1, under 136.5. All right, next matchup, getting into that 9 o'clock state. Oral Roberts taking on North Dakota State, 9 o'clock East. North Dakota State, they are the heavy 13.5-point favorite. Totals 153. You know, the Bison are 17-9 on the year. Winning record against the point spread. Meanwhile, ORU on the other side, just 6-17 overall, 36% against the number. Definitely a down year for these guys. I remember the past handful of seasons, these guys were shooting lights out. Well, this year, a little bit different story. Oral Roberts took the loss in 8 out of their last 10. Just 3-7 against the spread during that span. And their defensive play has really been hurting them. The Eagles are allowing nearly 80 points a game, and they rank 319th in field goals allowed. Now, North Dakota State doing a great job shooting that long ball. They are making over 40% of their attempts from beyond the perimeter. They're actually averaging a dozen 3 balls a game, which is second best in college basketball. Money, 20 points a game, 41% from 3-land. White, 16 points a night, 40% from 3-land. Both Millers, 40% from beyond the arc. Feddersen, 40% from 3-land. This is a team who's got a lot of guys who like to shoot that long ball, and they do it well. Now, no real surprise. The Bison saw 6 out of their last 10 get over the total. Oral Roberts also went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I like North Dakota State minus 13.5 over 153. Next game, UC Riverside taking on UC Davis, 9 o'clock East. UC Riverside's -2 away from home, totals 134. Now, Riverside's 16-9 on the year. Davis is 14-10. And, you know, UC Davis has been really good against the point spread this year. They're covering in 68% of their games, and actually more recently, they covered in their last 7 straight. Now, defensively, well, UC Davis is allowing only 68 points a game, and they're 11th in the country in defensive turnovers. Very disruptive. T.Y. Johnson, club leader in steals and points. You know, Johnson is averaging over 21.5 points a game on offense. And, of course, the Swiss forward, Nico Rochak, he's got 52 blocks on the year, 182 rebounds. Now, UC Riverside on the other side, they failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4. They rank 319th in offensive field goal percentage. They're not shooting it well. They're actually 322nd in free throws made per game. Riverside saw unders recently versus Cal State Bakersfield, Cal Poly, and this very UC Davis team. Of course, 7 out of Davis's last 10 ball games fell under the total themselves. I like UC Davis +2 under 134. Next contest, Memphis, USF, 9 o'clock East. Memphis is -7.5 away from home. Totals 151.5. Memphis is 20-4 on the year, 7-1 straight up on the road. South Florida playing just .500 basketball themselves, and they're covering in only 30% of their ball games. Of course, more recently, the Battling Bulls failed to cover in 7 out of their last 8. They're allowing nearly 75 points a game this year on defense. That's bad news for them because Memphis offensively has been very good. They're averaging nearly 80 points a game, and they are the best 3-point shooting team in the country. PJ Haggerty, he's averaging over 21.5 points per contest, 43% from 3-land. And Tyrese Hunter, 14.5 points a game for him, 41% from downtown. Memphis is currently on a 7-game winning streak. Now, the Tigers did see unders recently versus Tulane, Wichita State, and Charlotte. Meanwhile, 6 out of South Florida's last 9 fell under the line as well. I like Memphis -7.5, under 151.5. The Tigers get hot, and it is tough to slow them down. All right, next game, Idaho State taking on Montana, 9 o'clock East. Montana's -5, totals 146. Now, Montana saw their last 5 straight get over the total. They're 7-3 to the over in their last 10. And of course, as far as the entire season goes, the Grizzlies are 64% to the over for the entire year. Idaho State saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the number themselves, 7-3 to the over in their last 10. I like the over 146. Next game, Weber State taking on Montana State, 9 o'clock East. The Montana State Bobcats are -9, totals 140. Montana State just 10-15 on the year, 37% against the point spread. Montana State also failed to cover in their last 3 straight, 3-7 against the number in their last 10. They're having trouble getting to the foul line on offense. Montana State currently ranks 326th in offensive boards. Weber State, on the other side, they have covers recently against Northern Arizona and Sacramento State. But make no mistake, Weber State is not having a good year. This is a pure fade of Montana State in this spot. This is a mighty big number for them to cover. I like Weber State +9 under 140. Next matchup, FIU taking on UTEP, 9 o'clock East. UTEP's -8.5, totals 142 and a hook. UTEP 16-7 overall, 10-2 straight up at home. Florida International 8-16 themselves, just 1-8 on the road. FIU's allowing 73 points a game. They rank 306th in free throws allowed. Of course, UTEP, they're doing a nice job getting to the stripe themselves. They shoot the 3-ball well, top 35 in offensive 3-point percentage. Ahmad Bynum, double-digit points a game, 49% shooting from 3-land. He is making nearly 50% of his 3 balls. Of course, Otis Frazier III, team leader in scoring. UTEP 6-3 to the over in their last 9. FIU 6-3 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I like UTEP -8.5 over 142 and a hook. Next game, Liberty, New Mexico State, 9 o'clock East. Liberty's -3.5, totals 133. The Flames are 19-5 on the year, 67% against the number. New Mexico State, 12-11 themselves, 40% against the point spread. The Aggies lost 5 out of their last 6, and they failed to cover in all of those contests besides one. New Mexico State, they're shooting just 68% from the foul line, and they rank 312th in offensive field goal percentage. And that's bad news for them because defensively, Liberty is cream of the crop, one of the best in the nation. They're allowing only 61 points a game, second in the country in 3-pointers allowed. Owen Aquino, leader in blocks and rebounds. And check this out, 5'10" Colin Porter. He's shorter than me. He is the team leader in steals. They don't see him coming. He's quick, and he will just pester you. Anyway, offensively, the Flames, well, they're drilling double-digit 3 balls a game, shooting nearly 50% from the field. This is a very good Liberty team. Now, the Flames saw their last 4 straight stay under the total. Meanwhile, the Aggies on the other side went 8-2 to the under in their last 10. I like Liberty -3.5, under 133. Next game, UC San Diego taking on Cal State Bakersfield, 9:30 p.m. East. San Diego 12.5, total 145. UC San Diego's 20-4 on the year, 8-2 in the road games. UC San Diego, they are currently covering in 77% of their ball games this year. This team's been an absolute cash cow. Meanwhile, Bakersfield on the other side, 10-15 overall, just 34% against the number. Of course, Bakersfield currently on a 5-game skid, and they are getting into all kinds of foul trouble this year. They're actually in the bottom 5 in the country in free throws allowed per game. Of course, UC San Diego on the other side, they're averaging 81 points per contest, double-digit 3 balls per game. McGee and Gray, 40% from 3-land combined. Tate Jones, 20 points per contest for him. UC San Diego went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. Bakersfield saw 7 out of their last 10 get over the total themselves. I like UC San Diego, minus 12.5, over 145. Next game, Oregon State taking on Portland, 10 o'clock East. Oregon State's minus 13, total 145.5. Oregon State 17-8 on the year, 71% against the point spread. Portland just 8-17 themselves, losing record at home. Portland dropped 7 out of their last 10, and they're allowing 82 points a game overall for the year. Now, Portland turns it over a bunch on offense. Bottom 5 in field goals allowed on defense. Bottom 3 in three-pointers allowed. They're actually giving up nearly 11 three balls a game. Now, Oregon State on the other side, top 40 three-point shooting team, top 20 in shooting from the field. Nate Kings is drilling 47% of his attempts from downtown. Michael Raytage, 17 points per contest. Oregon State, they covered in 7 out of their last 10. Now, they also saw the overcash in 80% of those ball games I just mentioned. Portland 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I like Oregon State minus 13, over 145.5. Next game, Cal Poly taking on Cal State Fullerton, 10 o'clock East. Poly's minus 7, totals 154. Now, Poly's just 9-15 on the year, 3-11 on the road. They also more recently took the loss in 7 out of their last 10. They're currently in the bottom 5 in points allowed. They're actually allowing nearly 84 points per contest. Cal State Fullerton doing a nice job against Cal Poly, winners of their last 4 head-to-head meetings against those guys. This is another one of those spots. This is more or less a pure fade of Cal Poly. Give me Cal State Fullerton plus 7 over 154. Next matchup, Northern Arizona taking on Portland State, 10 o'clock East. Portland State's minus 5, totals 145.5. Portland State 14-10 on the year, 8-1 straight up at home. Portland State's covering in 62% of their games this year. Now the Vikings are averaging nearly 80 points per contest offensively. They're in the top 25 in the nation in field goals. Jalen Henderson, 14 points a game for him. Isaiah Johnson, second on the roster in scoring, shooting nearly 40% from beyond the arc. Now, Northern Arizona on the other side, losing record against the number this year, just 5-7 straight up on the road. They did see overs in 6 out of their last 10. Meanwhile, Portland State saw overs recently versus Montana State, Montana, and Northern Arizona. I like Portland State minus 5 over 145.5. Next game, Pacific taking on Loyola Marymount, 10 o'clock East. LMU's minus 11.5, totals 137. Loyola 15-10 on the year, 10-4 straight up at home. Pacific 8-19 overall, just 1-11 on the road. UOP 69 points a game they're averaging offensively, and they rank 312th in three-pointers made. Meanwhile, Loyola on the other side playing some pretty tough defense. They're allowing only 69 points a game, 30% from three land. 6'11 junior Javon Porter, 33 blocks on this season, 187 rebounds. And Myron Amy, he's got the most steals on the roster. Now, if you're into historical trends, Loyola did win their last 4 straight against UOP. 6 out of Loyola's last 8 ball games, well, they got the W. 6-2 straight up in their last 8. Of course, Loyola did see 5 out of those 8 ball games stay under the total. Pacific went 6-2 to the under in their last 8 themselves. Give me Loyola Marymount minus 11.5, under 137. Next game, Northern Colorado taking on Sacramento State, 10 o'clock East. Northern Colorado's minus 9, totals 144. NCO 18-7 on the year, but they do have a losing record against the point spread. Meanwhile, Sacramento State on the other side, they covered recently against Idaho, Eastern Washington, and Idaho State. And I'll tell you, Sacramento State, they're playing pretty good defensively. They're allowing only 69 points a game, and they rank 37th in field goals allowed. Now, Northern Colorado on the other side, they failed to cover in 6 out of their last 9. And they are having some struggles on defense. The Bears rank 301st in defensive field goal percentage. Now, 3 out of Northern Colorado's last 4 did get over the total. Meanwhile, Sacramento State, they saw 5 out of their last 6 get over the total themselves. I like Sacramento State plus 9 over 144. Next contest, San Diego taking on Pepperdine, 10 o'clock East. Pepperdine's minus 7.5, totals 152. Now, Pepperdine covered recently versus Washington State, Pacific, and this very San Diego squad. Of course, speaking of San Diego, they're just 4-22 on the year. Winless on the road, 0-10 in their travels. Now, offensively, the Toreros are 354th in offensive field goal percentage. That's nearly bottom 10 in the nation. They're also drilling just 28% of their 3 balls. That is bottom 10 in the country in that particular category. San Diego saw unders recently versus Pacific, Loyola Marymount, and Washington State. Meanwhile, Pepperdine went 60% to the under in their last 10. I like Pepperdine minus 7.5, under 152. Next game, UC Santa Barbara taking on UC Irvine, 11 o'clock East. UCI's minus 9, totals 139. Irvine's 20-4 on the year. Santa Barbara 16-8. Now the Gauchos are on a 3-game winning streak, and they went 7-3 straight up in their last 10. UC Santa Barbara shooting nearly 40% from 3-land, and I know this is a quirky stat, but they actually average the fewest block shots per game in the country. Stephen Swenson, 44% shooting from 3-land, team leader in scoring. And Cole Anderson, he's drilling a staggering 53% of his attempts from beyond the arc. Now, UCI on the other side, they failed to cover in their last 3 straight. And, they really don't shoot the deep ball a whole lot. UCI saw unders recently versus Hawaii, UC San Diego, and Cal State Northridge. Meanwhile, the Gauchos, they saw unders recently versus UC Davis, UC Riverside, and Cal Poly. I like UC Santa Barbara plus 9, under 139. And with that, folks, if you made it this far in the video, we are at the finish line. Next and final breakdown for the video, San Francisco taking on Gonzaga, 11 o'clock East. Gonzaga's minus 14.5, totals 153. Now the Zags are 18-7 on the year, 11-1 straight up at home. San Francisco losers of 4 out of their last 7 on the road, and they do have a losing record against the point spread for the entire year. Now Gonzaga, they are 2nd in the country in scoring, 1st in field goals made. Graham Ike, 17 points per contest, 59% from the field. Of course, Khalif Battle, 2nd on the roster in scoring, 93% shooting from the stripe. You can't foul this guy. He's going to make you pay. He rarely misses from the foul line. And, of course, when it comes to defensive play, a lot of folks focus on Gonzaga's offensive prowess. But defensively, Gonzaga limits their opponents to just 29% shooting from 3-land. Now, Gonzaga, they are 3-0 to the under in their last 3. San Francisco saw 5 out of their last 8 stay under the total themselves. I like Gonzaga minus 14.5, under 153. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And if you do end up getting a membership here today on my premium site, just a friendly reminder, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. They're going to be included with your membership. That's why I always tell folks, that Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership, gives you access to everything. Once again, we're red hot in that package right now. 5-0 in our last 5 Gold Club tier package plays. But most importantly, folks, gotta thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, folks, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.